The ultimate in workers' compensation injuries is veterans' benefits. Now, why do I say that? Why is it workers' compensation? Well, mainly because it is. The veteran benefit is paid because of an injury on the job. And the veterans' benefit goes back to the Revolutionary War. In fact, if it wasn't for the revolutionary government guaranteeing to the soldiers that they would be taken care of if they were injured or killed during the war, they wouldn't have had too many soldiers fighting on the side of the revolutionaries. So it was one of the first pieces of legislation. America was one of the first pieces of legislation in America was the establishment of the Veterans Benefit Scheme of compensation. And this has grown in huge proportions through the various wars. They're extremely difficult. The Veterans Administration, you can take it from me firsthand, it's an insurance company. That's really all it is. And it's one of the most difficult battles the veteran has in achieving the benefits. And for example, over the years, there's been a condition that has been variously referred to. In World War I, it was shell shock. In World War II, it was called battle fatigue. And during the Korean War, it was Korean War syndrome. Vietnam was called the Vietnam War syndrome. In the Gulf War, it was called Gulf War syndrome. And now in the Middle East wars, it's finally gotten its correct name, post-traumatic stress. And this post-traumatic stress can take various forms. It can take the form of just a mild condition that the veteran has lived with all his life and really doesn't talk about, to one which is totally, completely disabling, and from what's called a global assessment function standpoint, which the doctors call GAF. This is a way you can measure how an individual performs as a human being. You have human global assessment functioning well below a score of 45 or 50, and a normal functioning human being is over 100. That's how you're able to understand, you're able to physically move about, you're able to take care of yourself, you're able to understand and take care of your activities of daily living. And we have veterans, literally thousands of them, men and women now, men and women. And there's a high percentage of them coming back affected from the Gulf War. Men and women from Iraq and Afghanistan every single day. The rate of suicide among veterans now is astronomical. And why is this so? Why is it that every single politician, no matter Democrat or Republican, promises to take care of the veterans, and then they go into the morass that's the Veterans Administration, and they have to fight for every single right, every single benefit? And up until the end of the second Clinton administration, the legal fee was a maximum of $5. $5 is all it was no wonder no lawyers were getting involved with this. Well, President Clinton changed this, and then so did President Bush. President Bush made it easier for veterans attorneys like myself and others, and there's probably only a handful in Pennsylvania that really know what they're doing, to actually earn a fee, because they're just as time-consuming, they're just as difficult. There's really no judge involved in it. You're dealing with what are called rating officers, district rating officers, and you have to try to convince them, marshal the facts, and try to convince them that whatever the veteran is suffering from is work-related. And in the case of Vietnam veterans and Korean War veterans and even World War II veterans, all of them were exposed to Agent Orange. We were using Agent Orange, which is called something different in World War II, but in Korea we used the herbicide, and in Vietnam we used it. And there was exposures, and there's long-term effects from this. And now here recently, the Veterans Administration has finally agreed that coronary artery disease from exposure to Agent Orange, which is so rampant among Vietnam-era veterans, now that they've agreed, now that the Veterans Administration agreed, and they didn't agree voluntarily, they had to be taken to court and forced to agree. But now that they have, there is a huge block of veterans. In fact, the Veterans Administration estimates $15 billion worth of benefits that would be due this group of veterans who were Agent Orange exposed. And what have they done about it? Literally nothing. Maybe sent a letter somewhere, but I doubt if anyone has ever seen any ad on TV for this. So this has been a challenge for our firm. There are no more deserving clients than veterans. We're honored to be able to represent them. And if this is if you have a question about these veterans' benefits, the Bulldog lawyers will be happy to discuss it with you.